You already feel it every time you walk into the grocery store. Eggs cost more, meat costs more, fresh food even more. And while you're trying to feed your family, pay rent, cover gas, and survive another month, now the government just changed the food pyramid in 2026. Let me ask you something real. Can your budget handle another healthy eating rule that makes groceries even more expensive? Because that's exactly what many families are worried about right now. This isn't just about nutrition. This is about your money, your meals, and your survival. And if you think this change won't affect you, wait, because in just a few minutes, you'll see how this update could quietly reshape what schools serve your kids, what assistance programs cover, and what food companies push onto shelves. So stay with me because this update is not small and it's not harmless. This video is about your family, your health, and your wallet, all at the same time. What actually changed in 2026? So let's break this down simply. The classic food pyramid most of us grew up with, it's officially gone. In its place is a new 2026 nutrition model that shifts priorities in a big way. Instead of focusing on basic food groups, the new system emphasizes plant-based protein, reduced red meat, less dairy, more whole grains and legumes. Now, on paper, that may sound healthy. But here's the issue. Healthy does not always mean affordable. Many of the foods now being promoted cost more per serving, spoil faster, and take longer to prepare. That matters when you're working long hours, feeding kids on tight schedules, or living paycheck to paycheck. This change isn't just advice. It guides schools, hospitals, food aid programs, and even grocery pricing strategies. So when nutrition rules shift, your everyday options shift too. And this is where the real problem begins. Cost vs. reality. Here's the main problem. Nobody is talking about loudly enough. The new food guidelines don't match real American budgets. Families are already cutting back. People are choosing cheaper calories just to stay full. And now the recommended foods are often more expensive, less filling, harder to store, and harder to cook after a long workday. Let's be honest, when you're exhausted and stressed, you don't want a complicated recipe. You want food that's quick, filling, and affordable. But the new pyramid pushes foods that often cost more per meal than traditional staples. And when assistance programs follow these rules, cheaper options may slowly disappear from support lists. So what happens? Families spend more, or they ignore the guidance completely, or they stretch unhealthy food even further. And that creates a dangerous cycle between health and poverty. That's the main issue, not nutrition theory, but real-life survival. How this affects school lunches. Now let's talk about your kids, because this part really matters. When food guidelines change, school lunch programs are often required to adjust their menus. That means less meat, fewer dairy options, more plant-based meals. Again, that may sound healthy, but schools are also on tight budgets. So what do? They often choose the cheapest version of the healthy option, and that can mean highly processed substitutes, smaller portions, less protein per meal. So your child may technically be eating a compliant meal, but not necessarily a filling or satisfying one. And when kids stay hungry, families end up spending more at home to make up the difference. So this update doesn't just affect what's on the tray at school, it affects what's missing from your grocery budget at night. Impact on food assistance programs. Now here's where things get serious, because when nutrition rules change, food assistance programs often follow. Programs that help millions of Americans may begin prioritizing certain approved food categories, specific product types, and vendors that meet new guidelines that can slowly limit what families can buy with benefits. And if you're already struggling, you don't need fewer options, you need flexibility. But strict food models can lead to less choice, more expensive baskets, and higher out-of-pocket costs. So instead of helping families stretch benefits, the system may quietly make it harder. And that hits seniors, single parents, and working families the hardest. This isn't about discipline or education, it's about affordability. Grocery stores will follow the money. Now, here's something most people don't realize. When guidelines change, companies change. Fast. Food manufacturers start reformulating products. Grocery stores adjust shelf space. Advertising shifts toward what's officially recommended. So what happens to traditional budget foods? They slowly get pushed aside. And what takes their place? Trendy health products, specialty items, higher margin alternatives, which usually means higher prices. So even if the pyramid doesn't force you to buy anything, market pressure does. And when shelves change, choices change. And when choices change, budgets feel it. Here's the hidden twist. Now, this is where you really need to pay attention. Because here's the part. Most headlines are not saying clearly. These guidelines influence federal food purchasing contracts. That means massive government food orders for schools, military, hospitals, emergency programs. And when those contracts shift towards specific food types, entire supply chains adjust. So prices don't just rise in stores, they can rise at the farm level too, which then pushes costs even higher later. So, what starts as nutrition advice can end up reshaping the entire food economy. And that's why this change matters way more than people think. Healthy should not mean harder. Let's say something clearly right now. People want to eat better. This isn't about laziness, this is about reality. Healthy food should be affordable, easy to access, practical for busy families. But when guidelines ignore lifestyle and income, they create guilt instead of solutions. So families feel like they're failing, when really, the system isn't supporting them. Nutrition should help people, not pressure them. And right now, many Americans feel squeezed from both sides, by prices on one side and expectations on the other. That's not empowerment, that's stress. Who benefits the most from this change? Now let's talk about something uncomfortable but important. Every big policy shift creates winners and losers. Large food corporations that already produce plant-based alternatives, they're ready. Companies that sell specialty health foods, they benefit from being recommended. But small farmers and traditional producers, they may struggle to adapt fast enough. So while the message is about public health, the business impact is very real. And when corporations adjust faster than families, guess who pays the price? You, at checkout. That's why these changes need to be looked at carefully, not just through health charts, but through household budgets. What you can do right now. So what can you actually do? Because panic doesn't pay bills. Here are smart, realistic steps. Learn which affordable foods still meet guidelines. Focus on simple meals with flexible ingredients. Watch how assistance program rules evolve. Don't fall for expensive health branding traps. You don't need trendy packaging to eat better. You need smart planning and honest information. And that's what this channel is about. Protecting your health and your wallet at the same time. Because nobody should have to choose between feeding their kids and following nutrition advice. Why this matters for the future. This change isn't just about 2026. It sets the direction for years ahead. Policies that start today will shape school nutrition, food pricing trends, and future assistance programs. So if families aren't heard now, the gap could grow even wider later. And once systems lock in, they're very hard to reverse. That's why awareness matters. Not outrage, awareness. Because informed families make better choices and demand better systems. What you need to remember. Let's pause and summarize fast. The food pyramid changed in 2026. It emphasizes different food priorities that affects schools, stores, and assistance programs, which can impact food prices and access. And that hits family budgets directly. This is not just about nutrition, it's about economics. And that's why this update deserves your attention. Don't let this catch you off guard. Most people won't notice the change right away. It will happen slowly, quietly. But one day you'll realize certain foods cost more. Certain options are gone and budgets feel tighter again. And people will wonder, how did we get here? Well, now you know. And staying informed means you can prepare instead of panic. Strong emotional build. You work hard, you budget carefully, you do your best to take care of your family. So any policy that affects your food should respect that reality. Nutrition should support working families, not complicate their lives. And your voice matters more than you think, because when enough people pay attention, systems listen, but silence lets problems grow. So here's the truth, and I want you to really hear this. What you put on your table should never be decided without considering your paycheck. Health matters, but so does affordability, and real solutions must respect both. This food pyramid update is just the beginning of bigger food policy changes coming next, and you deserve to know what's happening before it hits your wallet again. That's why staying informed isn't optional anymore. It's protection. If you care about your family's future, if you care about food prices, benefits, and smart planning, and if you want updates that actually affect your daily life, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay connected with this channel. Because when policies change quietly, knowledge becomes your strongest defense. And I'll keep bringing you the updates that matter. Fast, clear, and real. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next update.